her team lost yesterday, and that game seemed to have been taken away from them at the last minute. We're thinking about you, Diane.
Yeah,
You're
Diane. Oh,
annoying.
horrible. Poor Diane.
And
That
it
was
seems
awful.
like that game
Oh, that
was
was
sort of
It was,
awful.
taken away at
I
the
think
end.
it was an epic game because it went to
Oh,
overtime
you're
and we
seeing
had
the
a
mic. You
chance.
can't hear them, Scott.
I stood the
mic's
The
whole
mic
game.
doesn't change that.
Okay, which
Oh,
game?
God
Which game
I
bless
was
can't
that?
hear
you.
any of you.
It was a horrible,
Uh,
horrible
Which
And
call.
game
what a
was that,
finish.
Virginia?
Bad calls, all of
This is
it.
Gene Garcia. Is this Bible class?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, good.
Hi,
Just
Gene.
wondering. Howdy. I'm
Hi,
on the
Gene.
road.
Deanne,
I can hear
came
Hi,
a
everybody.
little bit
Gina.
late, and we like to accommodate. So now we can move on.
Okay, so, okay, let
Oh, it's this side.
me mute all. Yes. And let me close this so we can see. Okay. Now let me get my Bible open. Okay. Why did that?
It's okay.
Okay. Prayers for the week. Continuous prayer, continuing to pray for Sherry as she goes through PT and gets stronger and better, and hopefully the pain gets less. I know it's been a little challenging. You look great this morning, though, girlfriend, so that's good. Our Julie has more medical tests this week. Hopefully, just, so far all the tests have actually been better than expected, but they're not giving us answers of why she still feels so bad. So prayers that we get some answers to that. Continuous to always keep Kay in our prayers, as she still has to have treatment, and Kelly's not on this morning, but it is cold here, and so I can't imagine how cold it is there. And so keep her in your prayers. Monica, and who's a friend of Jean's, and her father, who is in hospice. And then always keep Cindy and her mentees in your prayers, that she can stay strong for them and be encouragement for them.
I will tell you, Julie, she's getting into a clinical trial. It's a phase 3. So they know that this drug has worked for people. They're working on dosages. That's what all the tests are for, to get her into that. So we remain hopeful. God, we do remain hopeful. We're told to trust in you and believe what we can't see. We see things around us that we don't understand. But you give us the ability to be your arms and legs, to represent you, to pass the grace to other people that you've shown to us. These ones, every week, you tell us to remain diligent, to come back and to come back. And we do. You know our hearts. We come looking for understanding, and we come looking for things that will increase our faith, things that will remind us that you've had a long plan for humanity. Help us to see those things. Amen.
Okay, so we are in our 3rd week of Isaiah, and we left off at Isaiah chapter 3, and we made it through verse 9. And we're in the midst of Isaiah's second vision, and the first part that we're reading is a near-term prophecy, and which means he was prophesying about an event that ended up happening 100 years later, with Judah being, the people of Judah and Jerusalem being exiled to Babylon. And Scott, you wanted to go back to Isaiah 3, verses 6 through 7, and just talk about it. I'm going to read it real quick, if that's okay.
Sure.
And so he's prophesying, and he says, this is what it'll be like. A man will seize his brother within his father's house. You have a cloak. You be our leader. Take charge of this heap of rubble. On that day, he will cry aloud, I am not a healer. I have no food or clothing in my house. Do not make me leader of the people.
Got a couple of questions this week, so I thought it's worth mentioning again this part. We knew it was going to be confusing. We're trying to make it less so. But remember what Isaiah is prophesying about is that this judgment is going to happen, that they've gotten completely away from God, and that there are going to be consequences. And that little section, I guess, can be confusing. So I had already planned to do this before we talked about football. But I want you to imagine a college football program, a powerhouse, a really, always a winner kind of a program, and they have some big scandal, and the NCAA says all your coaches have to go. They have no coaches. And then all of their really good players get to take off through the transfer portal and go somewhere else. And they're left with some kids that were in high school last year and, the water boy, and they're just in complete disarray. But they also get told, you have to maintain the program. You have to keep things going. Nobody would want to be in charge of that. You understand? That's one of those things that nobody wants to inherit those problems. And so it would be like somebody seeing one of the professors and saying, hey, you have a clipboard, you be the coach. And the professor says, no. I don't know anything about football. I don't know anything about any of this. I don't even own a clipboard. All right? Nobody wants it. And what Isaiah has told them is that God's judgment, God's consequences are going to be so final, so complete, that the people that are left, you can imagine in normal circumstances somebody saying, hey, you want to be mayor for a day? Yeah, I'll be mayor for a day. I'll change some things. How about you want to be mayor permanently? Oh, absolutely. This is going to be so bad that nobody's going to want to be mayor. Nobody's going to want to take it over. That's what he's told them is going to happen, and it is, in fact, what happens. We know from, just history that that's how it went. So if it's confusing, I don't mind. I mean, happy to clear stuff up if you have a question or something seems odd.
And just an aside on that, Nebuchadnezzar does come in 100 years later and forces the best and the brightest, the rich, the powerful. He captures them and brings them to Babylon. And that is, and we find that out because that's how Daniel, in the book of Daniel, ends up in Babylon. But that's sort of an oddity to us. When we think of war right now, we don't think of people coming in and taking the best and brightest. And so
we're going to see it today. Let's go ahead and get on with today, because that is actually also going to be prophesied about how that's going to be handled.
So we are now taking it up in Isaiah 3, chapter 3, verses 10 through 15. And like I said, instead of us going back and forth all the time, if you guys do have your Bibles for this study, it's best. So verse 10, tell the righteous it will be well with them, for they will enjoy the fruit of their labor. Woe to the wicked, disaster is upon them, for they will be repaid with what their hands have done. Youths oppress my people, and women rule over them. O my people, your guides misled you. They turn you from your paths. The Lord arises to contend. He stands to judge the people. The Lord brings his charge against the elders and leaders of his people. You have devoured the vineyard. The plunder of the poor is in your houses. Why do you crush my people and grind the faces of the poor?
So this is both a prophecy and an indictment. And as always, there is a certain amount of hope. So he starts out saying, tell the righteous it will be well with them. And you think about Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. They go to Babylon. They don't abandon their faith. And it does go very well for them. And they're not the only ones. They're the only ones that we have the story on. But he says, you can tell these people it's going to get bad, but tell the righteous that it'll go well with them. They'll enjoy the fruit of their labor. But woe to the wicked, disaster is upon them. And there is, at the end of verse 12, I just want you to see some of the consistency, some of the themes that get repeated. At the end of verse 12, he says, "O my people, your guides mislead you. They turn you from your paths." And we're going to jump over and read one or two verses from the New Testament with Jesus talking. And he's going through this time where he's really on the Pharisees, the same leaders in the temple, the same leaders of the religious life have become utterly corrupt. And he's gone through this, section where he's saying, "Woe to you, Pharisees." And
So if you go to Matthew 23, verses 16 through 19, listen to what Jesus says. "Woe to you, blind guides! You say, if anyone swears by the temple, it means nothing. But if anyone swears by the gold of the temple, he is bound by his oath. You blind fools! Which is greater, the gold or the temple that makes it sacred? And you say, if anyone swears by the altar, it means nothing. But if anyone swears by the gift on it, he is bound by his oath. You blind men, which is greater, the gift or the altar that makes it sacred?"
so what you see in the New Testament, this is Jesus talking to the Pharisees, and they've become just like the leaders that were in Jerusalem at this time. They're all about the gold, they're all about the money, they're all about the power. And Jesus calls them blind guides. They're the ones who are supposed to be leading the people of Israel, and it's like being led by blind people. You've totally missed everything. And you say that if someone swears by the temple, it means nothing. But if you swear by the gold in the temple, your oath is binding. That's who they've become by the time Jesus comes around. That's who they were in the time of Isaiah. We go back over, if you don't mind, back over to Isaiah where we were. This is 3, right?
Yes.
There are a few things in here, we're not going to belabor it too much, but he's told them, the Lord arises to contend. And that word is, to rebuke, to come against them. He stands to judge the people. The Lord brings this charge against the elders. You've devoured the vineyard. The plunder of the poor is in your houses. And we should, as much as possible, when we read, when we study, look for what is in there that kind of informs our life today, things that we can learn from for us. And the idea that these people that are in charge of government don't mind enriching themselves and leaving, who they have to take it from is of no consequence. So why do you crush my people and grind the faces of the poor? This is all the idea is that they're not going to be able to say, and we're going to say this a number of times, they're not going to be able to say, why didn't you warn us? Why didn't you tell us? They're being told ahead of time.
The next section is, we're going to read from Isaiah 3, verse 16, all the way to Isaiah 4, verse 1. And remember, no chapters or verses, and so most people believe that Isaiah 4:1 belongs with this last section in chapter 3. And this section is a metaphor of Jerusalem and Judah.
It is about Judah and Jerusalem. He talks about the women of Zion, and that's Jerusalem. It's not just an attack on the women. And you're going to see down to the end, we'll preview it, but you're going to see down at the end, there are some clues that it's not just about, women getting haughty. It's about Jerusalem.
The Lord also says, because the daughters of Zion are haughty, walking with heads held high and wanton eyes, prancing and skipping as they go, jingling the bracelets on their ankles, the Lord will bring sores on the heads of the daughters of Zion, and the Lord will make their foreheads bare. In that day, the Lord will take away their finery, their anklets and headbands and crescents, their pendants, bracelets, and veils, their headdresses, ankle chains, and sashes, their perfume bottles and charms, their signet rings and nose rings, their festive robes, capes, cloaks, and purses, and their mirrors, linen garments, tiaras, and shawls. Instead of fragrance, there will be a stench. Instead of a belt, a rope. Instead of styled hair, baldness. Instead of fine clothing, sackcloth. Instead of beauty, shame. Your men will fall by the sword, and your warriors in battle. And the gates of Zion will lament and mourn. Destitute, she will sit on the ground.
This
is 4:1. In that day, 7 women will take hold of one man and say, we will eat our own bread and provide our own clothes. Just let us be called by your name. Take away our disgrace.
So, the last sentence in, is it not 12? The last sentence in 26. The gates of Zion will lament and mourn. Destitute, she will sit on the ground. The she is not a woman. It is Zion itself. It is Jerusalem. So while this talks about women, it's painting a picture of Jerusalem and the leaders in it like women who wear anklets and who, they are haughty, as it says. And that's kind of an important thing, because what this describes is not just that they're going to be punished or they're going to be conquered in battle, but they're going to be brought to shame. And so he describes these things happening to a rich, proud, haughty woman. And instead of just being punished, they get brought to utter shame. And there are a couple of things in here. I want you to look at verse 17 if you've got your Bible, where it says, the Lord will bring sores on the heads of the daughters of Zion, and the Lord will make their foreheads bare. Make their foreheads bare is a euphemism, okay? It's one of those things that get done in the Bible where, they think it doesn't sound very nice if you say what's really there, because what that says is uncover their secret parts. That's the translation. That would be shameful. And I think it's important to use the real words that are there. That would bring utter shame to one of these women. And he's saying that Jerusalem is going to be brought to utter shame. The Lord will take away their finery, their anklets and headbands and crescents, their mirrors and linen. He really goes on and on. These people have adorned themselves in splendor, and it's all going to get taken away from them. Instead of fragrance, there'll be a stench. And down at 24, it says, instead of styled hair, baldness. For a woman in that time, being bald was shameful. There's a point where it talks about someone, you might as well just shave your head. And so all of this section is telling Jerusalem and those people in it, this is not just going to be a loss in battle. You're going to be utterly humiliated. And he uses and I hate to use metaphor, but it is exactly that. It's an illustration of what's going to happen to them, and in the form of this is what would happen to a rich, proud woman if she were brought low.
You want to do that last time?
Yeah, I can do it real quick. In that day, 7 women will take hold of one man and say, we'll eat our... This is where also it was important women should get married, they should have children, because they are... I've talked about this before. People act like women are disregarded. But if you go to it, the word for mother is an old Proto-Hebrew, but it is strong water. They represent, the word for mother represents the glue that holds everything together. It's an important part of their society. And so he's saying that this is going to be like women who all the men have been carted off, And they go to some man because he's available, and they say, look, you don't have to support us. We'll bring our own food. You don't have to do anything. Just give us your name and take away our disgrace. All of that is to say that section is very specific about the disgrace and shame that's going to be heaped on Israel, on the people of Jerusalem and Judah when this time comes. And I'll read, you can read it, but I want you to look at verse 2. We're just about to get to. The first three words are on that day. During these prophecies, when you see on that day, it refers to something in the future. And that is also part of what makes reading prophecy tough, because it shifts back and forth in time without any warning. So on that day, something's going to happen. He's talking about something in the future. I think it's something in the distant future.
So like Scott said, the part we just finished reading in 3 and 4:1, we have the benefit of knowing that is what happened to the people of Babylon. I mean, that's what happened to the people of Judah when they were taken off to Babylon. And as Scott says, there's a belief that all of a sudden his prophecy changes to end times here. So I'm going to read verse 2 to 6. On that day, the branch of the Lord will be beautiful and glorious, and the fruit of the land will be the pride and glory of Israel's survivors. Whoever remains in Zion and whoever is left in Jerusalem, they will be called holy, all in Jerusalem who are recorded among the living. When the Lord has washed away the filth of the daughters of Zion and cleansed the blood stains from the heart of Jerusalem by a spirit of judgment and a spirit of fire. The Lord will create over all of Mount Zion and over her assemblies a cloud of smoke by day and a glowing flame of fire by night. For over all the glory there will be a canopy, a shelter to give shade from the heat by day, and a refuge and a hiding place from the storm and the rain.
So he describes something. We know it's in the future, the way he starts out, in that day. Not in today, but in some later date. And he describes things that we really haven't seen. And if you look at it carefully, it resembles Revelation a lot. The last bit of Revelation, where it talks about the new Jerusalem, the new heaven and the new earth. And there's one place in particular I want you to look at, where he says in verse 3, hold on before you go, whoever remains in Zion, that's a remnant, that's a few. Whoever remains in Zion and whoever is left in Jerusalem will be called holy. Not just because they happen to be left behind by the Babylonians. That doesn't make any sense.
And they weren't called holy.
And they weren't called holy. In fact, they wind up being kind of cursed by people. But they'll be called holy. All in Jerusalem who are recorded among the living. I think that's a clue. What does recorded among the living mean? I mean, you're either living or you're not. You don't have to be recorded among the living. You just raise your hand and go, hey, I'm here. So if you go to, Mary's going to bring it up. This is in Revelation.
So if you go to Revelation 21, Revelation 21, verses 26 and 27. Let me get
While she's doing that, up above, it talks about, if you read this on your own, I saw a new heaven and a new earth, and it talks about the holy city Jerusalem coming from above. But listen to this verse. This is
Revelations 21, verses 26 and 27. And into the city will be brought the glory and honor of the nations. But nothing unclean will ever enter it, nor anyone who practices an abomination or a lie, but only those whose names are written in the Lamb's book of life.
only those who are written in the Lamb's book of life. They're recorded among the living. And the reason we're jumping back and forth is to show you, I'm utterly convinced that Isaiah is having revealed to him some of the same things John has revealed in Revelation. And the similarities are, I mean, we could do this like a college course and spend weeks doing it, but they're pretty astounding to me. So he describes this time in the distant future when the remnant who are left will be called holy. No one will come into the holy city except those who are recorded in the Lamb's Book of Life. And there's Isaiah talking about the ones who are left will be called holy, all the ones who are recorded among the living. To me, it's almost shocking, similarities between the two. The Lord will create over all Mount Zion a cloud of smoke by day. There'll be a canopy to give shelter, to give shade. It talks about in Revelation how there will be no more need for a sun or a moon because the light that will come from Christ himself at that time. All of this sounds like Isaiah is seeing, and he says this is what was revealed. It's the same thing I believe that was revealed to John. Little different look, but that's not surprising. They're different people.
And then Isaiah 5 is the last chapter of the second vision of Isaiah. And it's entitled The Song of the Vineyard. And this is a parable. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, it really is. You might as well count it as a parable, just like parables that Jesus told. Parables are an illustration. You tell people something that they know to teach them about something maybe they don't know. In this case, he has, and this is inspired. I also am convinced this is inspired, but Isaiah is telling about something. He's been told that, you got to tell them this is coming. And if they ever dare to say, why is this happening to us? As the Babylonians are writing down on them, why is this happening? This chapter, this parable, if you will, is going to tell them exactly why it's happening. And it's a pretty good illustration.
Well, and the other thing is, so remember, Jesus does a parable about the vineyard too. And it's in Luke 13. And that gives you the understanding that the people that lived in Judah would know about vineyards.
And
because they grow grapes there. So I'm in Isaiah 5 and reading verses 1 through 7. I will sing for my beloved a song of his vineyard. My beloved had a vineyard on a very fertile hill. Fertile hill. He dug it up and cleared the stones and planted the finest vines. He built a watchtower in the middle and dug out a winepress as well. He waited for the vineyard to yield good grapes, but the fruit it produced was sour. And now, O dwellers of Jerusalem and men of Judah, I exhort you to judge between me and my vineyard. What more could I have been done for my vineyard? What more could have been done for my vineyard than I have done for it? Why, when I expected sweet grapes, did it bring forth sour fruit? Now I will tell you what I'm about to do to my vineyard. I will take away its hedge. And it will be consumed. I will tear down its wall, and it will be trampled. I will make it a wasteland, neither pruned nor cultivated, and thorns and briars will grow up. I will command the clouds that rain shall not fall on it. For the vineyard of the Lord of hosts is the house of Israel. The men of Judah are the plant of his delight. He looked for justice, but saw bloodshed, for righteousness, but heard a cry of distress.
So the key to this whole thing is that last verse. He doesn't leave you wondering. In this parable, in this illustration, he tells you the vineyard is the Lord of hosts. The vineyard of the Lord of hosts is the house of Israel. The men of Judah are the plant of his delight. So we know what's being illustrated in this.
So bottom line, the
parable.
vineyard owner is God. The vineyard itself is the house of Israel or Judah, and the vines are the people of Judah.
So in the beginning, it says that my beloved, God, had a vineyard on a very fertile hill. He dug it up and cleared the stones. This is Isaiah telling them they got here because God made a way for them, because he cleared the area for them, because he set them up. They didn't do this by the might of their own hands. God set them up in this place for a reason. He built a watchtower in the middle, which is the idea that he protected them the whole time. And he planted the finest vines, which is the Jews. He put them there for a reason and waited for it to yield good grapes, but the fruit it produced was sour. I don't think we have to belabor this too much. You see what's being told. God puts you in this place. He did all of these things for you. And as it says, now, O men, O dwellers of Jerusalem, men of Judah, I exhort you to judge between me and my vineyard, between yourselves and what God is saying. He says, what more could I have done? This would be God speaking. What more could I have done than I did for you? How could I, you can't complain and say, well, you didn't take care of us. I couldn't have done any more. And you took this gift that was given to you and turned it into something ugly. You oppressed people with it. So now I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to pull away the hedge, the protective hedge around you, and I'm going to lay waste to it. There'll be drought, there'll be famine, but I'm handing you over where I've protected you all this time. You have squandered what's been done, and I'm done with you. I'm pulling away my protection. This is a real strong reminder. And once again, I think that maybe if we look for any parallels today, I shouldn't have to tell you what I'm getting at with that. I mean, I think that we've convinced ourselves that, we're powerful and we're in charge. And this is a reminder, you've been sheltered. God has done for you. And instead of realizing that and presenting good fruit, you've sort of delivered sour fruit.
And then he goes from verses 8 through 12. Woe to you who add house to house and join field to field, until no place is left, and you live alone in the land. I heard the Lord of hosts declare, surely many houses will become desolate, great mansions left unoccupied, for 10 acres of vineyard will yield but a bath of wine, and a homer of seed only an ephah of grain. Woe to those who rise early in the morning in pursuit of strong drink, who linger into the evening to be inflamed by wine. At their feast are the lyre and the harp, tambourines and flutes and wine. They disregard the actions of the Lord and fail to see the works of his hand. That's all.
Okay. There's some kind of cool stuff in here, but he says that woe to you who add house to house and join field to field. These very rich people, the land in Judah, the land in Israel, is supposed to stay in the family forever. And if somebody gets in bad shape and winds up gambling or whatever, making bad investments, and loses the land, there's a process where another one of their family members can redeem it and get it back into the family. These people at the top have been gobbling up. Every time somebody's in trouble, they buy up their land and they don't give it back. They don't allow it to be bought back. Join field to field and house to house until you live alone in land. We want everything. It's never enough. We see a lot of people today that have ridiculous amounts and it's never enough. What more can I gobble up? And this is explaining to them, this is what you've done wrong. And he says that many houses will become desolate. So all these people that have built these mansions, your houses will be desolate. Well, that's because the owners are going to get hauled off to Babylon. And the big fancy houses will be sitting empty. Great mansions left unoccupied. And it describes how their vineyards that have been producing all this excess, there's not going to be anybody to tend them. They'll just fall in, they'll go fallow. But look at this next one, starting in 11. What are those who rise early in the morning in pursuit of strong drink, who linger in the evening to be inflamed by wine? At their feast are lyre and harp. You get they're celebrating, and they have nothing to do but drink and listen to music. I love 13. Well,
No, 12b.
12b. Okay.
They disregard the actions of the Lord and fail to see the work of his hands.
Fail to see the work of his hands. They are celebrating themselves for all of the excess they have without realizing or acknowledging God's work in making it possible. But I swear, what am I missing?
And then that's as far as and then
Oh,
we
you
just,
haven't read it yet.
No.
Okay, sorry. Anyway, all this is one contiguous story. He's describing this leadership in Jerusalem and what they've become, so nobody gets to say, we don't know why this is happening to us.
And then listen to verse 13. Therefore my people will go into exile for their lack of understanding. Their dignitaries are starving, and their masses are parched with thirst.
Let's look at just 11.
13.
Or 13. This is a strangely specific prophecy, prediction. It's one thing to say these people are going to ride in, they're going to, kill a bunch of people, they're going to make you slaves, they're going to, you're going to get defeated in battle. But look at what he says in 13. Therefore, my people will go into exile. That's a weird thing when you're defeated in battle to go into exile. That's what Nebuchadnezzar does. We talked about it. Nebuchadnezzar wants to enrich Babylon, and so he brings in the best and the brightest. But it's a weird thing. In the history of the world, it's a peculiar sort of thing. But for this time, and yet Isaiah nails it. I mean, he tells them, my people are going to be taken into exile for their lack of understanding. And he has just said about the understanding, they disregard the actions of the Lord and fail to see the work of his hands. That God provided all this excess, and for their lack of understanding, they're going to be hauled into exile. Incredible prophecy 100 years ahead of time.
And then verse 14. Therefore Sheol enlarges its throat and opens wide its enormous jaws. And down go Zion's nobles and masses, her revelers and carousers. So mankind will be brought low, and each man humbled. The arrogant will lower their eyes. But the Lord of hosts will be exalted by his justice, and the holy God will show himself holy in righteousness. Lambs will graze as in their pastures, and strangers will feed in the ruins of the wealthy.
We understand what's going on. He's telling them, you're going to be taken to exile, you're going to be brought low, you're going to be brought to shame. If you look at verse 17, lambs will graze as in their own pastures. And that's saying that they get hauled off, and there will be other people who will just be grazing on your land. But here's a funny thing. Strangers will feed in the ruins of the wealthy. When we were in Israel, we took a trip into Jordan with the church on a bus. And as we were coming back in the afternoon, kind of getting the late afternoon, I'm looking out the window, and there is the ruins of some old castle, some stone building, and it has these little jagged stones that are at most knee high. Some places are all the way down at ground level. This thing was obviously a big, strong stone building, and walking through it was a guy leading his sheep, a shepherd. It reminded me of the Pied Piper. And I thought to myself, whoever built that thing originally thought they had built something that would live forever. It would be around. They built it so big and so strong that this thing is going to last forever. And here I am all these years later seeing a shepherd lead his sheep through the last remaining stones of their big imposing structure. And that's what Isaiah is describing. you're going to get hauled off, and these fancy houses that you have, they're going to be people grazing their sheep on your land, and they're going to be going through the rubble of your homes, seeing what they can loot. Very specific, very accurate.
So mankind will be brought low. Oh, I'm sorry, 18. Woe to those who draw iniquity with cords of deceit and pull sin along with cart ropes. To those who say, let him hurry and hasten his work so that he may see it. Let the plan of the Holy One of Israel come so that we may know it.
I hope I can give you some things that'll sort of make this alive, make you understand what Isaiah is describing. Woe to those who draw iniquity with cords of deceit and pull sin along with cart ropes. These are people that are so anxious to hold on to their sin. If I have to tie ropes to the cart and pull it behind me, I'm not letting go of it. All right? Woe to those people, and to those who say, let him. Notice that him is capitalized. These are people who sit back and say, man, this is great. I can't wait to see what God's going to do tomorrow. Bring it on. Show me what it's going to be. Let the plan of the Holy One come so that we may know it. Because life is good. And they're being told you're going to see his plan and you're not going to like it. And some of the wording,
Imagery.
there's another one that's coming in a minute that I just love.
Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who turn darkness to light and light to darkness, who replace bitter with sweet and sweet with bitter. Woe to those who are wise in their own eyes and clever in their own sight. Woe to those who are heroes in drinking wine and champions in mixing strong drink, who acquit the guilty for a bribe and deprive the innocent of justice.
So I love the wording. You know, I mean, we don't have anything against drinking alcohol. You do, you don't. But what these people have become, it's just life's a big party. And I love the way he describes it. First, he says those who are wise in their own eyes and clever in their own sight. We get that. But what are those who are heroes in drinking wine and champions in mixing strong drink? These are people who live to drink, all right? And he's saying, you know, you've partied all this time. You're not going to be partying anymore. But I just love the description. Who acquit the guilty for a bribe and deprive the innocent of justice. Now, here's something I had never caught before and never thought about. But the idea that when you take a bribe, you acquit somebody who's guilty, you deprive the victims and the victim's family of justice. Story this week about a 19-year-old in San Francisco that beat an 84-year-old man to death for looking at him wrong. And the jury found him not guilty. And they said, you know, the defense, what his explanation was, he just had a bad day. And that kind of injustice, you think, well, it's not right that he should get off. But where it talks about deprive the innocent of justice, it's important to people. This is who Jerusalem has become.
Verses 24 through 25. Therefore, as a tongue of fire consumes the straw, and as dry grass shrivels in the flame, so their roots will decay, and their blossoms will blow away like dust. For they have rejected the instruction of the Lord of hosts, and despised the word of the Holy One of Israel. Therefore, the anger of the Lord burns against his people. His hand is raised against them to strike them down. The mountains quake, and the corpses lie like refuge in the street. Despite all of this, his anger is not turned away. His hand is still upraised.
So, the next part coming, pay attention to this. He says that God is angry. The hand of the Lord is against his people. And as people tend to do, they go, yeah, he's always mad about something. We're not, you know, he'll get over it. And it's the last after he says about God being angry and about him having his hand raised against them, that last thing says, despite all this, despite being angry to the point that, you know, they're gonna be drought and everything, his anger is not turned away. It's not enough that he's turned his hand against you. Listen to this next part. This is almost frightening.
He lifts a banner for the distant nations and whistles for those at the ends of the earth. Behold how speedily and swiftly they come. None of them grow weary or stumbles. No one slumbers or sleeps. No belt is loose and no sandal strap is broken. Their arrows are sharpened and all their bows are strung. The hoofs of their horses are like flint. Their chariot wheels are like a whirlwind. Their roaring is like that of a lion. They roar like young lions. They growl and seize their prey. They carry it away and no one can rescue it. In that day they will roar over it like the roaring of the sea. If one looks over the land, he will see darkness and distress. Even the light will be obscured by clouds.
So he tells them that God's angry, God's turned his hand against you. But that's not it. That's not the end. And it says he lifts a banner for the distant nations and whistles for those at the ends of the earth. He's saying, you get this image Isaiah's painting, that God's like going to Babylon and first the Assyrians, but then Babylon. Hey boys, come over here. This place is ripe for the taking. It's literally saying that God will call them down on Israel. There's no mistaking what he's saying. He whistles for those at the ends of the earth, and behold how speedily and swiftly they come.
And remember, God has protected the people of Judah for hundreds and hundreds of years.
They've won impossible battles because God has protected them. And now he's saying, come over here. The place is ripe for the taking. And look how speedily they come. And then those next few lines, he talks about things that go wrong in battle. You know, something as simple as a loose sword belt or a strap breaking on your sandal can get you killed in a battle. Little things go wrong.
But he starts off with, no one gets tired or stumbles. No one slumbers or sleeps. They have unending energy.
Sometimes in history, exhausted armies have accidentally run into the enemy and they're worn out and they lose. And he says, look, none of them grows weary or stumbles. God is actually saying, I'm going to strengthen them. What I've done for you, I'm going to do to them. Look how they don't grow weary or stumble. No belt is loose. No sandal strap is broken. The hooves of their horses are like flint. You know, your horse hoof fails, and that it's not easy to maintain war horse hooves. They're not going to have any failures when they come from you. There's not going to be any supernatural intervention. I'm actually going to strengthen them. And so their roaring is like that of a lion. They growl and seize their prey. They carry it away. And notice that. They don't eat it on the spot. They don't just kill you. They carry their prey away, and no one can rescue it. Over and over again, this prophecy just keeps nailing the fact they're going to get carted off. And this description of God strengthening the enemy and literally calling them in. And in my mind, I have to wonder if he wasn't already preparing Babylon for this that far in advance, because it's kind of what it feels like. Is that enough?
Yeah, we're early today.
We are?
Yeah, but we're not going to go into chapter 6.
We're not going to go into chapter 6. I don't know if anybody has any questions. The prophecies of Isaiah, we talk about it a whole lot, how amazing it is. Isaiah says, thus saith the Lord. And they're not just, it's sort of like the prophecy of Daniel with the statue. He prophesies Babylon, and all of a sudden I can't say the next one, and then Alexander the Great, even to the point of saying how they're going to be cut short. Alexander dies at some ridiculously young age, and the last one being Rome, and he describes Rome as being iron, but having feet that are iron mixed with clay, which is what happens with Rome. Is they get too big, there are not enough Romans, so they wind up bringing in soldiers from all over the place, and they can't hold together. And Daniel describes it in shocking detail when he translates that dream. It's the same thing, and we're going to see more of it when we do get to chapter 6. We're going to see more of that. There's some things coming up that to me are just, they're almost chilling.
And I just always think that in the near future, I mean, this Isaiah prophesies, and this prophecy didn't come true for 100 years. So the people that heard this were like,
yeah, what? And we're actually going to get to the part where the guy with Bible Project said, the more he tells them, the harder their hearts get. People don't like to be told, you have to change, you have to do something.
You're not going to be powerful someday.
And I guess the last thing I'm going to, repeat one more time. I look at this and I see us. I see the place where I live. I see, people who the riches of the poor are in your house. And it's not about social justice. I'm talking about the fact that there are people who don't mind enriching themselves no matter who they have to take it from. I see people who are wise in their own eyes, and nobody's going to tell you anything. To me, the state of Israel at this point is very much like the state of the place where I live. This country. I don't think it's within our grasp to make the country quit being that way. The best thing I can say we can look for is don't be those people. Christianity is practiced one-on-one. We still have an opportunity not to be those people, and to go back to the very beginning where he says this is going to happen, but tell the righteous it will go well with them. I think stick with that. Look for a message today. That's probably it. Diane, they took that game away from the Bills. They took the game away from the Bills. I'm sorry. But they did. That was the most horrible thing. And I thought about you the whole time. I was sitting here going, oh, this is just horrible. Anyway.
Yeah, I was so excited. I know, like last week, and my Allen jersey, and I was wearing it last night, watching the game, and I'm here in my living room, and I'm standing the whole game, finding stuff to do. I had nervous energy, but I had faith. They're going to do it. This is their year. What a letdown. Okay.
And they didn't review it. And the sports betting has gotten so bad. A lot of people are now, they've got 39 people that they've arrested for fixing games, college basketball, because of sports betting. And you got to look at something like that and say, could a guy really have, and they have instant replay, could they really miss that? I don't know. Mostly, I was thinking about you. I know you didn't have your jersey today, but I still have it. We will let you know what happens today. If it's something horrible or something just,
you have to look for another church.
Weird. We'll tell you about it this week. It's good to see all of you.
Thank you, you guys. Bye-bye. Don't forget to go to Lisa's opening.
Yay.
Yeah. Bye.
Have a great week.
Sunday. Have a great week.